24/7, you're listening to Footscray Live.
Welcome everyone, broadcasting live from Footscray City College. You're listening to Footscray Live. My name is Luke and with me today I have Yasmin, Jolie and Hannah. This is the Body Image Show and our special guest today is performer Kelly Nash. Hi Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thanks Luke, great to be here.
My first question is, what is body image and why is it an issue, especially among young people?
Wow, you didn't muck around, you went straight to the big stuff, huh? Well, I guess body image, put simply, is just the way we perceive ourselves. When we look in the mirror, what do we see and how do we feel about it? That's pretty much it. When it comes to what influences how we feel about it and what shapes our body image, is where it starts to get a bit more complex. But yeah. So what was the second part of the question? My short-term memory's shot.
Is why is it an issue, especially among young people?
Why is it an issue? Well, that's the big do's. I guess. Look, when I was growing up, and that was last century. I won't go on about that, but it was a while ago. I felt the pressure to look a certain way, and back in those days, I would look at images that were in Dolly magazine, and the shape that I have has been pretty much determined by genetics, a little chocolate and some comfort eating, but the shape is already there, and I guess it just made me really upset to think that I grew up hating my body, not disliking it but hating it, and to think that other people have to go through that constantly because of images that are put in front of us and held up like, this is what beautiful is. I'm over it. I'm sick of being told by someone else what beautiful is.
Yeah, so hi Kelly, Yasmin here. So you're an actor and a teacher who travels from school to school doing entertaining shows about body image, yeah? What inspired you to start doing that?
Well, I guess essentially it was, like I was just saying then, it was essentially the fact that I wasn't feeling very comfortable in my own body back in the day. And I just got tired of somebody else telling me this is how you have to look.
Yeah, of course.
And I've never really been very good at being compliant. If somebody tells me to do something, I'm likely to kind of go, well, why? Yeah. Why do I have to do it that way? Unless there's a really good reason. I think, I'll do it my own way, thanks very much. Yeah. But it took me a while to get to it. I reckon I was about 30. Yeah, when I first started to go, all right, what's going on here? Why are we all just feeling bad about our bodies and living with that instead of questioning it? Actually, I can tell you what happened, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I was in an Italian restaurant in the city, and I needed to go to the loo. That's by the by. That's not important. I had to go downstairs to get to the toilet, and there was this beautiful, great, big, huge poster of Sophia Loren, who's the most, one of the most beautiful women in the world. She's holding I'm doing actions, just which is ridiculous because we're on radio. But she's holding this great big kind of water jug on her shoulders, and she's obviously playing the role of a peasant or something back in the day. And she had these two huge, great big bushy armpits. And honestly, as I walked down the stairs, this was the image I saw, and I kind of went, "What? Here's the most beautiful woman in the world. She's got these huge, big, bushy armpits. What's going on there?" And it suddenly occurred to me, hang on a minute, maybe there's more than one version of beautiful. Maybe we've all been sucked in by this big lie that you all have to look the same way. And I think that sort of started me on this journey of, all right, well, what is it that defines beautiful? When I was growing up, my grandmother used to say, beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Well, now it feels like it's not in the eye of the beholder anymore. We're told what beautiful is. And I'm done with that, Yeah.
What do you think, what solutions could you think of that could normalise every shape and size of every person's body?
Gee.
It's a big ask.
It's a big ask, isn't it? And I think that if I could find a way, maybe there'd be maybe Instagram, the people who run Instagram and the people who profit from making us feel bad about our bodies would be chasing me down, trying to get rid of me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a payoff for people who want to sell us stuff to keep us in a state of body dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
Because if we don't like who we are, we will pay big bucks to get the right outfit or change our bodies or diet, you know. And they've done so much research on diets. Diets don't work.
They just don't.
No. And they reckon after about 5 years, 90% of people who lost weight will have put it back on again, and in a lot of cases even more, you know.
Yeah,
so diets don't work. I'm not saying eating plans or long-term approach to health, I'm not saying that doesn't work, but diets per se, restricting the amount of calories that you're getting.
Yeah.
And often for young people, you know, restricting it to, you know, less than what you need for a day to get through. You know, you need calories to live and breathe and stuff. So it's important that we get them. But yeah, there's a payoff there for people who want to keep us in a state of dissatisfaction, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How do we change that? Oh, gosh. I do my little bit, but, you know, you can't go to a school and say, hey, love yourselves for an hour and then expect everyone to go, yeah, all right, rock on, you're right, lady.
Yeah.
It would be great if that happened, but it doesn't.
Media plays a big role in how young girls in particular are affected by body image. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I was reading something the other day that said the average Australian sees about 3,000 advertising images a day.
Yeah.
Now, of those 3,000 advertising images a day, most of them would be bodies that have been photoshopped.
Like on my Snapchat all the time, I get like diet things
Yeah.
coming up
Right.
all the time. Yeah.
And so with all of that happening, I mean, not just the media images. Yeah, what do you get?
Yeah, I get the ads that are like the photoshopping apps on like that you can get on the App Store, and then like they like edit this like weird picture of abs, and then like it makes them look all tiny. And stuff.
Yeah, I've gotten that ad too.
It's really weird. It's
I don't need an app. I just draw them on and then take the photo from a distance. But yeah, like it's crazy, isn't it, the amount of pressure we put on ourselves. And I used to think it was pretty much contained to advertising and the media, but now it's like every single person on Instagram or whatever the latest thing is, taking photos of themselves, now they're doing the work of advertisers for them, you know, because you can get the photoshopping apps yourself. So what we're putting out into the world is this really kind of distorted image instead of being authentic. Like, I think it's really sad that beauty has become so much about how we look and less about who we are. You know, when did kindness or generosity or courage or wit, you know, stop being beautiful?
Yeah.
It seems a shame that that's not celebrated as much as a package, the beauty package.
So, do you think the issues of body image have changed a lot from like a while ago to now? Do you think they're different?
Gee, that's a really good question. I think ultimately it would come down to the same thing about not feeling good in yourself. I think that's the same.
Yeah.
I think the pressures change. And I think it's like if it's 3,000 advertising images plus whatever you see on Instagram a day, that's enough to brainwash a person, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is.
And if you're copying it from the minute you arrive in the world, and they've done heaps of research too about how, you know, kids as young as 1 have brand recognition because of things that are placed in front of them and various different patterns that you can get on bibs that correlate to big corporations. So we're training up the consumers of the future. You know, and I think the body image stuff starts early because the sooner we can have body dissatisfaction, the sooner we've got a market to sell to. We've got to fix you because you're not good enough. You know, so that whole "I'm not good enough" thinking is what you know, people who make stuff generally can try and fix.
Social media really brings that.
And then social media just compounds that. So I think it's worse.
It's like you're comparing yourself to everyone else you're looking at.
Constantly. And what's the point? You know, we're from different gene pools. You know, I when I go out to schools, I often talk about my bum, which is probably too much information. But I just sort of say, you know, like, my sister and I have exactly the same bum. You know, it's the genetics that we got. She's a lot slimmer than me, but it's the same bum. It doesn't matter if I lose weight or put on weight. That bum will still be the same shape. It's sort of like flat and square, like a television set. You know, although I wouldn't recommend watching it for long periods of time because the channel doesn't change. But you know, it's it's just nothing. But here's the interesting thing, like years ago I lost heaps of weight and I remember looking in the mirror and thinking, oh my God, it's still there. Like I'm really skinny and gorgeous and I say gorgeous. See how we do that? Like brainwashing. I'm sort of slim up the top, but boom, 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 the big television bum is still there. Nothing I do in this lifetime is ever going to change that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the concept of like kind of what you're talking about, fat phobia, which is like the fear of being fat and the idealization of being skinny, do you think that has a big part to play in the issue of body image?
Absolutely, I think so, yeah. And definitely that's been my journey because I've always been, you know, a bit of a plus-sized lass. I remember being at a Christmas party one day and I'm not huge, but I'm a big gal. My grandmother said big bones. There's some bones. But yeah, I remember being at a Christmas do and one of my relatives, an older female, as I was going for a second piece of pavlova, why wouldn't I?
Who wouldn't?
It's Christmas
So
time,
good.
right?
Yeah.
It's not
That's
every
what Christmas
day.
is
It's
for.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So I'm going for my second piece and she went, oh, darling, I don't think so. And I went,
my
why
God.
not? Right? And she
Yeah.
went, because you'll get fat and no one will love you.
Yeah.
I
Oh
just
my God. What
That's
the
from someone who's
hell?
meant to love me, you know? I remember years later saying to her, do you remember saying that? And she went, oh, I never did. I went, well, you did.
Yeah.
And she said, well, if I did, I only did it because I knew how hard life was if you were outside the norms. Like, you can be too
Yeah.
skinny too. Like, my mum was pretty skinny growing up. And you kind of go, it's so not fair that there's this really narrow ideal of what beauty should be. Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
That kind of reminds me of an experience I had last year when I was Christmas shopping in Dangerfield, which I saw as like kind of a hip brand that was very welcoming.
Same
But
with
I had
me.
an assistant come up to me and say, I don't think we have your size here. And I said, I'm not even shopping for me, I'm shopping for my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Right?
And it made me feel really uncomfortable and it made me feel like I should leave the store. And I'm like, you're a business, you're supposed to want me to shop here.
I
Actually,
see
fat shaming
Dangerfield.
people is not helping, is
No.
it? You know,
Like,
you kind of go,
Oh
what are
my
you...
God, that's
I see
really
Dangerfield as one
horrible.
of those stores that wouldn't do that because
Yeah.
I go there all the time. That's
Exactly.
shocking.
It's
Oh my
upsetting,
God.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And you kind of think, well, why are you doing that? And again, I think it is. It's just to promote the body dissatisfaction so that you'll just keep buying other stuff to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just makes me so cranky that
It's really
that we're,
disappointing.
that we're shamed for who we are, and we come in different shapes and sizes. Thank God we do. Imagine walking down the street and seeing yourself walking back at you. It would be
Yeah.
dull. Imagine your folks trying to pick you up from school at the end of each day. They'd be going, oh, I don't know which one's mine. Yeah, come on, you'll do. You know? So it's good
Yeah.
that we're different, and I reckon we need to start celebrating that just so much, you know?
Yeah.
Look, I'm looking at the five of us going, you couldn't get a more fabulous looking panel, you know? And because we're all so gorgeous and
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And it's time that we just started to just broaden this idea of what beautiful is. Sorry, I'm going to have to cough. Very unprofessional.
That's all right.
I'm done.
So, what do you love about your job, like your everyday life, like going to schools or whatever it is?
I love... There's a moment in the show when, because it's about an hour show, and there's a moment where there's a bit of a reveal. I don't mean like I don't take
Yeah.
well, I kind of do take my clothes off, but no, it's not. I keep it nice. But there's a reveal, and there's a beautiful moment where there's just a sea of faces all looking back at me that affirm what I'm doing, that make me kind of go, yeah, right, I've seen, you've understood.
Yeah.
We come in different shapes and sizes. We
Yeah.
come in all sorts of differences. Let's start celebrating that. And that's the moment that I just kind of go, we understand each other now. And that's really cool. I think
Yeah.
that's exciting for me. Yeah.
What advice would you give to young people, especially women, on how to overcome some body image issues that they may have?
Stop consuming media.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. you
Gee,
know?
yeah, I don't know. Maybe just becoming more media savvy.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all sort of say, yeah, we know that that images are photoshopped, but it's still really hard to. It's just really hard when you're faced with those images every single day to go, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't fit that image. That is not me, but I'm still okay. It's really hard. If you're being confronted with that every single day, it just wears you down, I think. So I kind of am not joking when I say remove all media from your life. It just seems a shame. Media can be fabulous. Obviously, look at us sitting around here doing this.
Yeah.
This is brilliant.
Yeah.
But when it's abused and you know, it makes people at the most vulnerable time in their lives, you know, going through puberty and your body changing, and as you're starting to sort of investigate the world and socialising, makes you feel not good enough. Then
Your body
what
is
the
forever
heck?
changing.
Yeah.
Even
I
through
feel
puberty, weight fluctuating, you're growing pimples. It's just
Exactly.
you're going to look different.
Yeah.
I feel like you should just be able to look at these images and say, that's not me. It doesn't matter what they look like. This is what I look like, and I can't do anything about it. So.
Exactly.
But it's just not normalized for us. Like, if I was to think about myself, that's what I think. Like,
Yep.
I don't think good things about myself, but it's just normalized into, like, our everyday lives.
Yeah.
And everybody is feeling that, and
Yeah.
that's what you say when you're saying it's normalised. Yeah, I get that, and that's what I think is the tragedy, is that this behaviour is normalised. Everyone hates their body. What is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just, so have you ever done a performance of your show at Footscray City College, or are you
Not-
ever going to?
Not this current one, but years and years ago, and we're talking 1990. Yeah, right. So you've all kind of gone that black and white era before we were born. 1990 something. I did a show called Beauty Is Your Duty. So it's been an obsession for a long time.
Yeah.
This thing of me hating other people telling me what beautiful is. I think we did a show back in 1994, 95 out here at Footscray City High. Yeah. But
That's
that was a long
cool.
time ago, hey?
You should come back for another show.
I should come back for another show.
I wanna see a
Who do
show.
we speak to?
So, what do you think friends and family and peers can do to help students like feel better about their bodies?
Just not comment on them.
Yeah.
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 I don't think it's... it is funny, isn't it, how we think maybe we would be making someone feel better if we say, oh, you've lost weight, or oh, gee, you look good in that outfit. But in actual fact, I don't think it needs to be about how we look physically in the world. I'd rather be complimented on who I am and what I do and
Your
what I stand for.
intelligence.
Yeah, rather than how I look. I mean, I still enjoy dressing up. I still
Yeah.
enjoy whacking on a bit of red lippy and, dressing up, because that's
But
fun.
it's for you.
Right?
You're not doing it for someone else.
Yeah. And nothing that I wear is in fashion per se. It's, it's what fits. It's from
Yeah.
the op shop. I've added a bit of stuff on the bottom to
Yeah.
make it, a bit more interesting. Or that it's a more of a reflection of me and what I think looks good on me, rather than what somebody else has gone, this is in fashion, you have to wear this.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't suit me, well, bad luck.
So body image is usually seen as an issue mainly around girls, but do
Yeah.
you think it also affects boys and people of other genders as well?
Absolutely. I think it affects everybody, When I was growing up, thinking about male models, all had hairy chests, Whereas now, if you saw a picture of a male model with a hairy chest, it would be like weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You just
Would
kind of
be
go,
weird.
because again, we've been trained, we've been brainwashed into believing that hair free is the way to go, and I just think it's really unfair on everybody, But that's
Yeah.
because, people who make shavers or waxes or whatever kind of go, hang on, we had half the market with females. We can expand the market
Yeah.
by putting images of hair-free people, from the neck down, essentially.
Yeah.
It's it just frightens me that it's everyone, and the abs and the strangely shiny look that they all have. I don't know what that's
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because
It's
it's not
like oil or
yeah,
something
right. Yeah,
It
just
doesn't-
oil myself up before I go and have a dance.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
Yeah.
For any new listeners, you're listening to the Body Image Show on Footscray Live, and our special guest is performer Kelly Nash.
All right, so Kelly, how much do you think a young person's mental health is affected by body image?
Gee, that's a big question too, isn't it? I'm
Yeah.
loving these. You guys, you didn't muck around, did you? You're going the big questions. A lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. It's kind of like it's the shop front, isn't it? It's how we present ourselves to the world. So it's
Yeah.
the first thing that is put out there for judgment. And if it's not deemed okay enough, then that's going to affect how we're
Hair
feeling.
quote okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The air quote okay, because my version of okay is much broader, obviously. But yeah, I do. I think it impacts massively. It may not be the only reason that people are, having issues, but
Yeah.
but definitely it
course.
impacts. Yeah.
Are the issues around body image much different from when you were in school to our kind of generation?
I thought you were going to say 20 years ago, and I was going to say, oh, aren't you kind, 20 years ago? 30, 40 years ago. Are they different? I think it's like I was saying before, I think ultimately it's the same. You know, we are either shamed by media or sometimes even family members for being the shape that we are. I just think it's just so much bigger now. I think that's the only difference, is there's just so many more voices coming at you saying not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. I think that's the biggest issue as far as I can see. I mean, I don't know. I've essentially I've moved right away from Instagram and any of those newer versions of things, because I'm so sick of people all looking the same.
Yeah.
I've noticed recently on Facebook, you can tell I'm an old person because I have Facebook, is that right? I have Facebook, and a lot of my friends are putting up pictures of their kids at formals.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What I find disturbing is that everybody looks the same.
Yeah.
Everyone's got the long straight hair and the great big long lashes that look like they might take your eye out if they fluttered them too hard at you. And I'm not having a go. If people want to do that, that's fine. But it's just when everyone starts to look the same, I kind of go, this is scary. So we all want to fit in, and I wanted to fit in when I was growing up. I think it's probably the same now.
And they all wear like the dresses, the tight dresses and stuff.
Yeah. It's like a uniform.
Yeah, it is.
So kind of on mental health, like we were talking about before, I was thinking about like insecurity and how your kind of, hatred for your body actually pushed you to love yourself and spread love for bodies. But I've also seen it that, especially among overweight kids, I remember in my primary school, like they would call other kids fat. They would drag other kids down because of their insecurities.
Yeah.
And I kind of am just like, why? I just don't really understand it.
Oh, I think that ultimately any kind of put down behaviour is essentially to help yourself to feel better, isn't it? You know, I don't think it's necessarily as simple as that, but certainly if you can detract from you by putting the focus somewhere else, I think that's just a survival technique that happens in a lot of schools, sadly.
Yeah, I just hope that we can, with different shapes and sizes of bodies. I hope, because I think a lot of people think when people are saying we want body positivity for everyone, I think people think it's only for people who are bigger sized, but it's also for people who are skinnier or have curves, things like that. It's like everyone, and I feel like people don't really realise it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Often when we talk body image, you're right, people will kind of go, all right,
straight to,
all right, so you're sitting outside of the or higher than what is comfortable when it comes to a particular body shape. But in actual fact, people come in different shapes and sizes. And one of the things that I say when I'm talking to young people is that, I'm not here to say go and eat yourself into an obesity coma. That's not the message. The message is actually in between unhealthily underweight at one end of a spectrum and unhealthily overweight at the other end of a spectrum. There are so many different sizes and shapes that are perfectly healthy and perfectly gorgeous that we should be celebrating. But my mum grew up and she was pretty rake-like, very skinny. And I think that she kind of felt like she wasn't good enough either.
Yeah,
you can't keep anybody happy, so you might as well just keep yourself happy.
Yeah.
I think that's that's the way I try to approach it. Is just to remember we come in different heights, shapes, and sizes, and it's all good. So long as you're well.
So, what message do you hope or try to pass on to the students that you perform in front of?
I try to pass on just that message of media savviness, just so being aware of the media. But I guess I always try and finish on the big question, or the big issue, which is, when we're 96 years old and we're all lying on our deathbeds, will you look back at your life and go, I only have one regret, and that is that I was not 1.5 kilograms lighter for the year 10 formal, and then it's all over. That would be a tragedy, I think ultimately we just want to get to the end of our lives and kind of go, wow, this vessel, this body took me from cradle to grave, and I've had some amazing times in it. I should be celebrating it. I mean, this body back in the 80s was doing a dance called the bump. Man, was I good at the bump. I've got the biggest hips. I could take people out on the dance floor, you know.
Yeah.
I want to celebrate the whole package. I want to be celebrating on my deathbed. That's what I want to be doing.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you young folk. Oh, that was a bit old-fashioned of me to say young folk. But I just also wanted to say thank you so much for the really considered questions. They were terrific. And if you guys are any indication of where the future might go, perhaps we can look forward to a time of body positivity.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Kelly. The work you do is absolutely amazing, and it makes me so happy that there are people out there doing these kind of programs that I would have loved to see when I was younger, so that's really cool. My name is Luke, and I'd like to thank my panel, Yasmin, Jolie and Hannah. That was performer Kelly Nash. This has been the Body Image Show on Footscray Live.
You're listening to Footscray Live.